Hello, Scrappy friends. Welcome back to my channel. I have something a little bit different for you today. So let me go ahead and explain, and then we will get to scrapping, I promise. So what I have here on my desk, and you may have already seen these, but Creative Memories puts out each quarter of the year, they put out this little sketch booklet, I like to call it, and this could only be purchased by advisors. And a lot of us use these as little incentives or little gifts for our customers. So I'm not going to show you what's the sketches that are in here, but I will say that most of the sketches, you will find them on the blog already. But that's not really what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about is what they did with this booklet. So starting last year in 2023, they did something that I think is just fabulous, and I really like this concept, and I'm hoping that you do too. So once you hear it and see it as I go through the video at the end, let me know. Let me know if you like this style of scrapping. There's about 4 or 5 sketches in the book, and then sometimes there's a border on the back. But what they did starting last January 2023 is they took each sketch and they modified it so that it would be for all levels of scrapbooking. So there's a beginning, an intermediate, and an advanced level, and each level kind of builds upon itself, and it's not necessarily just on your skills of scrapbooking. I mean, certainly could be. You start off easy, and then as you get more comfortable, you add in more paper, more tools. That's kind of the concept. But so it's not just your level of scrapping, it could be your comfort level. Maybe you don't like a lot of using tools or adding extra paper. I love adding lots of paper and lots of color to my layout, but not everybody does. So as we go through these, then just know it's not really just for beginning scrapbooking to well-seasoned scrapbookers. What they did is, here's an example. I can show you this one. It's in every booklet. So they do a beginning sketch, and it's usually what I would like to call keeping it simple. Simple cuts and simple page design. And then for the intermediate, they came back through and they added what we like to call layers. So they put a layer of paper behind one photo and another layer coming out to the side of the second photo. Then for the advanced, they start to bring in some tools and make things that just have a little bit more pop. So here they brought in a border at both the top and the bottom. They brought in a third photo and then put a mat around that. And then they added some other areas of embellishment. So the first one had a couple spots of embellishment that carried over to the second one. And now the third one has a couple more things added to the embellishments on the page. Okay, so let me show you how I interpreted this. Okay, so here's the first layout. I like to kind of look at this as a band style layout, but what they have here in the sketch is about a 2-inch piece of paper here and a 1-inch piece of paper at the top of that, and then it's repeated down here at the bottom. So cutting paper is very simple, and then laying it onto your background is also very simple. Then there's room for one 4x6 photo here, and I went ahead and changed this up. I like to use bigger photos, and I wanted to show that even that could be done on these different layouts I'm going to show you today. So I changed it from a 4x6 and a 3x4 to 2 4x6s. I kept the journaling in the same area. I put a title, and then I did a few little embellishment clusters. And that's the first layout. If you look at the intermediate, they just added a layer of paper coming out underneath that photo and coming out the side of the second one. So that's what I did here. Same exact layout. I just added in a layer of paper and a little layer of piece coming out that way. Everything else stayed exactly the same. Then for the more advanced layout, let me scoot it like this. I have this one. So I did a couple changes here. I changed the background piece from white to pattern paper. I did the exact same layout like we did for the first two, adding the layers, but then I came back in with a border making cartridge and I added the border at the bottom and the same one at the top. And then I came back through and added a few little word stickers like they showed on the sample. And I added one more right down here as well. Everything else is the same. So you can see, I don't think I can get all of these on here. Let's see. I'll try my best. There we go. I kind of got them all in frame there. So you can see that it's very beautiful page the way it is. And then as you want, or as your comfort level grows or your skills grow, and then your comfort level using tools and bringing in additional pops of color, as that changes, then you can modify up to this one here. So seeing that, what kind of scrapper are you? I like to call this one the basic design. This one is adding layers, and then the final one is adding more color and texture. That's just kind of how I look at it, not really beginning, intermediate, and advanced, but it's all just about the words, right? So the one thing about the booklet is that the sketches that are provided in here, they're all one-page layouts. I like to do two-page layouts, and I know a lot of you do as well. What I want to do today is to create a two-page layout starting from scratch and kind of following through the concept that they have here. We'll do a very basic design first, then we'll move into an intermediate on the same layout by adding more layers of paper, and then we'll do the advanced, or the one that has more color and texture as we move through. So my end layout today will be in the advanced area, but we're going to progress all the way through. So let me clean this up and I'll be right back and we'll get started. So here's what I have for today. I'm going to scrapbook these photos of my son when he earned his black belt in Taekwondo. They had a ceremony day, and this was the day of the actual ceremony. So not the actual testing, but just when they received their actual black belt and their awards. So I do not have Taekwondo or karate of any kind papers. So every time I scrapbook one of these, and if you're familiar with Taekwondo, there's a lot of different belt levels, and there's a lot of different testing and championships and all kinds of times where I needed to take photos. And so this is always a struggle for me to scrap some of these photos because there's just no papers and very limited embellishments. What I did for today was I went into my stash and I used this photo, this first one, and kind of pulled out colors and things that made me remember what that feeling was like the day of this event. And so you'll see here there's some blue and there's some gold, some red, and some black. So I really just went in and pulled my papers from my color categories. And then for my background piece, I dug into my stash and found this white brick. Again, has nothing to do with Taekwondo. It's just that I like this. It has some texture to it, and it'll be a nice background piece to highlight all these colors. So let's go ahead and we'll put our background pieces up here, and we will go ahead and start creating our layout. So the first thing I want to do is take this red piece, and I want to cut it into two 4-inch strips. One for each side, and then one extra. And for my basic layout, I'm going to turn one going vertical on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, I'm going to have the other one going horizontal. And this one I probably will play with and move it up and down as we go through the rest of the layout. So there will be a space right here. But the one here on the right-hand side, I will butt that right up next to the edge. That's our basic page design. Very simple. And let's bring in our photos and see how we would lay these out. So I have this group photo I would put right up here, and then one here with his two masters that taught him the Taekwondo. And I have two that I've already cut down to 3.5 by 5, and I'm going to put those right up here. You have plenty of room up here if you wanted to keep them into a size 4 by 6, but spoiler alert, as we move through the process of this layout, I am going to come back and put some mats under those. So I cut mine smaller, but you have plenty of room. In fact, let me show you. You have room that you could put 2 4 by 6s right there. So plenty of room up top without trimming. So if you wanted to keep a basic layout, that would look very nice. I'm going to keep that there for a moment while I put the rest of the photos on, because all the rest of the photos, they're all 3.5 by 3.5 inch squares. I've just cropped them all down, and my idea is just to lay them all over here. I just happen to have the perfect photos that I was able to crop out and really zoom in on what was happening. So over here, these are just more candid shots, but this strip over here is when he's actually getting his belt from his master. So they take off his old one, put the new one on, and then give him a plaque as well. Okay, so now that we have our photos on, I still want to add in titling and a title and journaling. Now I'm going to use this spot over here, but you could put in another photo. If you had three vertical photos, you can put in one more photo right here as well. So I'm bringing in a very simple title. I had this one that just says the word awesome, because of course I think he's awesome for going through this whole process of earning that black belt. It was not easy. I mean, it took him a couple years to do that, and they had studying and a written test, and then of course the physical test. So it's pretty awesome that this was back in 2008, so he was probably about 9, and that's a big accomplishment for a 9-year-old. So what I would do on a basic layout is I would do some handwritten journaling right here on this white. I have this beautiful white background, so it would be perfect for some handwritten journaling. So I'll just bring in this little card to represent where we would do our journaling. And then I would just bring in some very light embellishing. So what I would do is bring in this blue ribbon. And again, I'm just using the colors in my photos to help me guide my embellishing, since I don't have a ton of karate embellishments. But I do have this one, which is just a little black belt that says the word karate that happened to be in my stash. And so I'm going to put that right above this ribbon. And then I'm going to bring in a black star, which I just punched out from my die cut machine, and put it right there, as well as this little arrow that I also cut out on my die cut machine. And I'm just going to put it right, overlap the star and the ribbon, and have it pointing into my layout. And then for this page over here, I did have this super cute embellishment. I've been keeping it for a super long time. So as you can see, it's just a little Taekwondo uniform with a little black belt. So I have to make sure I get this on this layout. I'm going to put it right down here. Now, I'm only going to have that one embellishment there. I'm not going to add anything else because I really want that just to kind of stand out. But if you had more embellishments and you wanted smaller ones, you can always put a base there and kind of build up. This would be a great place for an embellishment cluster. Then I would like to come up here and add in my next embellishment cluster, which would be, I'm going to bring in a red star and put it like that. And then on top of that star, I'm going to bring in another arrow that I cut on my machine, and then put it up there, kind of pointing in to the photo. And then I have one more actual karate embellishment, and it's just another black belt. And I'm going to put that be overlapping the arrow a little bit. So it'll look like that. So very minimal embellishments. I was able to get a few theme specific embellishments on there, so I'm happy about that. And then I just kind of filled in with some generic shapes. And that there is the basic design. I think it came out great. I'm able to get a lot of photos on here and some embellishment clusters. So how can we take this basic design and turn it into an intermediate design? Well, that would be by adding some layers. So I took the black paper with some stars and I cut out an 8 by 10 inch chunk. And I kind of went for the area on the paper that had less stars. That paper had a lot of stars. And what am going to do to kind of kick this up a notch is I'm going to slide this right over here. And that would be a nice layer and a nice place to house these 4x6 photos. And then I'll put all of these 3.5 inch photos on top of that as well. So the black really does help to pop that out, and it also brings in all the black from the photos and the embellishments and the title area. So I'm loving that. The next way I want to bring in some text, some layers, is through matting these two photos and bringing in a punch. Now, I originally was going to use this striped gold paper, and I actually did cut this and add it to my layout, but I didn't like it. So through the magic of editing, I am going to bring in, instead of the gold striped paper, I'm going to bring in some bronze shimmer paper. I feel like it's going to be a nice balance and kind of give a little bit of elegance to this page, right? Because it is an important moment. First thing I want to do is bring in my border making system and the starry border making cartridge and punch out one row. So I just want a little bit of an edge here to do some tucking. So I'm going to do about 1.25 inches. Then while I have my trimmer out, I'm going to go ahead and cut some mats for the two top photos on this page and the two photos over here on the other page. So for these, I need to make them 4 by 5.5. On this page, we need them to be 6.25 by 4.5. By 4.25 actually. Okay, and then this piece, I'm kind of thinking to put it down here at the bottom, just to add in another layer, but I also think it kind of looks very similar to the tablecloth that they have here on this table, because it has like some fringes down there. So I like that. I think it's cute. And of course the stars go with my embellishment clusters already. And we'll add a couple more mats over here. We have plenty of room. And there we go with the intermediate, or the second phase, which would be adding more layers to our original layout. And there you go. You could see it just took a little bit more time. Still super easy. We just added a few mats and we brought in one tool. And I think it just added just a little bit of pizzazz to the layout. I feel like over here, especially, it gave it a real formal kind of look. So I'm really liking that a lot. Okay. So that's the intermediate. Let's do a few more adjustments and turn this into a more advanced layout, or a layout that just has more color and texture. So to do that, I'm going to bring in just one more tool, and it's going to be my border maker system again, but this time I'm going to bring in the ribbon weave cartridge. And I'm going to bring in a little bit more pop of blue by bringing in this, I think it's Starry Night Shimmer. Nope, this one's actually a deep blue shimmer. Okay, and I'm going to cut one punch out from this. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut about 8 inches, which will be right to that spot right there. And kind of tuck that right under here on top of that 8-inch by 10-inch block that we have. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to run it over here underneath that photo and somewhere to house my title. And I think I might actually slide my title just underneath instead of overlapping it, just making it touch ever so slightly like that. Now, one last area that I want to kind of enhance would be my journaling area. I like to use a lot of journaling boxes, and so one way to kind of advance your layout up to the next level would be to bring in a journaling box here instead of handwriting it right on. Either way looks super nice, but I do want to bring in a piece of this black paper over to the other side, so I'm going to create my own journaling box. Okay, so we have a small area there. I'm going to bring in this star paper that we used over here, just so we can kind of tie it in on both sides. And this is about, 4 inches. I won't need that big of a piece. I probably only need about 2.5 inches. And it looks like, yeah, that's going to fit perfectly. And I'm probably going to cut it down to about 3.5 inches. I'm going to go with the side that has the less amount of stars. 3.5, let's make it 3.25 and see if we like it. And I will bring in a little piece of lined paper to go right on top of that. So kind of tones it down, and that's where my journaling will go. In fact, I probably will rest my title right there on top of my new journaling box. Yep, I love that. Okay, let me pause the video. I'm going to get everything adhered down, and I'm going to come back with some finishing touches. But while I'm doing that, I would really love to know what you think about this beginning, intermediate, and advanced level. Is this something that I should continue doing by clicking that thumbs up button? Or even better yet, let me know in the comments, because I really would like to hear your feedback and what you think about this. Let me get everything adhered down and I'll be right back. We're back and I have everything adhered down. And the last thing I want to do is bring in some finishing touches. And you can probably see over here on my desk when I punched out the Starry Night border down here, I had all those little stars and I just put them aside. I'm going to just take these and kind of sprinkle them around in different areas, and then I'll come back through and glue them in. So I'll put a couple right up here. There's 5. I like that number. So I'll do that. And then I will come up here. There's 2 that kind of fell on top of each other. So I like that. And like that. And then I'll come down here as well. That's probably too many. Let's put that little one back. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So now I got some stars in each of my clusters, and like I said, I'll come back and glue those in. That's all I'm gonna do. I had so much fun doing this layout and doing the whole beginning, intermediate, and advanced levels. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you, and until next time, you take care, everybody, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.